Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I'm on leechess.org right now, and I'm playing a 15-2 game. So let's see how this plays out. It's been a while since I played a standard game. Usually bullet and blitz, but it's nice to be able to stop and actually think. So let's see what we have in this one. Kingside queen kiddo, e6. One of those two, something else. e6, okay. I'll go with knight f3. Let's see if bishop b4 is on board. I'm fine with trading dark square bishops. Okay, we don't have that. Entering a Benoni structure, so let's grab some space with d5. Okay, so not an immediate capture. Not sure if there's a great difference. Usually it's first takes and then recapture. So my knight belongs here, knight c3. And I could think about e4. Okay, that's a little bit awkward. e6 and then a couple moves later e5. Some time is lost there, but with the closed position, I don't know that that will be such a great factor. I'm pretty sure I know where my e-pawn belongs. Sometimes there'll be this maneuver, but not in this case with the pawn on c4. So I don't think there's a reason not to play e4 here. Yeah, they might play bishop g4 and eliminate their bishop for my knight. Sensible, with a closed position, with black having less space. Okay, don't have that. My approach will be with this pawn furthest advanced pawn on d5, this queenside pawn. This is where I have a space advantage. So I'll be looking for this idea, but the question is when. Probably only after I have some more development in. Now, where might this knight be going? I think black might pivot on f8 prior to castling, and then jump into g6. I might need to be concerned with knight f4 stuff. I could play g3, but I'm weakening my light squares. Let's see. Can I do without castling here? Probably not. I have to get castling in. So, if they're going to go for knight to f8, I can't stop them. I could consider this maneuver. It's probably a good one. Yeah, I should go in for that. I'd much rather have my knight responsible for defending f4 than a pawn. And this knight here will be really well placed on d3. It's probably the best piece that I have, a knight on d3. So let's get there, follow through. Notice it facilitates both pawn breaks, f4 and b4. So, super strong piece here on d3. Now, I wonder, I could definitely play a3 and b4 here. That's one plan. And the other is f4, although I need to be concerned with the e5 square being given up. Now, I would really, if I could get my pawn to f5, I think that would be probably a win. It just controls the whole board. There'd be too little space for black to work with. So, if I play g3, well, for one, it weakens h3. There's bishop h3 with tempo, but this idea of g3 and f4 takes, I recapture with the pawn, and I'm securing the e5 square. But maybe I don't need to go in that direction at all. If I make nothing moves, I think black's progress is in the form of f5. So I'm moving the knight to d7 and then playing f5. Or maybe this square so that the bishop observes f5. But getting the knight out of the way and playing f5 is probably black's idea. I wonder. I could always try for first a3 and b4, see if black plays a5 to stop b4. For just a little bit at least. On a3, a5, I'll have the b5 square for my knight at some stage. But I'm just wondering if I should be going for g3 and f4. I don't know. No, I'm not going to do that. I just noticed something, and that is, if they move this knight, I have bishop g4, offering a light square bishop exchange, exchanging my bad bishop for their good bishop. And even if they get the f5 move in, I take, and then I'll have this nice post for my knight on e4. One thing you have to be concerned about, without this pawn on e4, it allows a knight to maybe one day pivot on f5, and once he's there, he is getting into d4. And that would be a very difficult piece to work around. Okay. So, two things are happening. Black's preventing b4, at least for the moment, but is giving up the b5 square. Something I may want to jump into at some stage. Could play rook b1, that's the first thought that comes to mind here. I don't know, not sure what exactly I'm accomplishing by playing rook b1 and b4, because at the end they play b6. I don't like giving this rook activity. Moves to consider here, I'm thinking about bishop to e3. And yeah, let's do that, because it's a developing move. So just one move away from being fully developed. I have to be a little bit concerned about a move like this, and in fact maybe I'm overlooking that. Come to think of it, because my knight is restricted. a4 might be a move here. Yeah. So I think this was a misstep, bishop e3, but we'll see what the engine has to say after this. So I have to be concerned about this positional idea of a4 right now, clamping down on this structure. Let's start out with b3. Yeah. I think a4 was a move. We'll see what we'll see if it's being suggested. We'll see where there's some evaluation shifts after this game. So, they really trying to play b5? I wouldn't mind seeing that. Let's start with rook b1, just to be in a position to break. My rook might be able to get to the 7th rank with some good effect, good influence in the position. So is this knight ever going to move? I might try something like h6, knight h7 to get in f5, but I'm fine with that. I'm prepared. Okay, they are going for this. I think it's a mistake. I'm almost certain it's a mistake, because I have discovered stuff at the end, hitting the queen, and I'm winning material, and I'll have the bishop pair. So I think that this was a miscalculation here by black, with my bishop on e2. Yeah, they're going right into this discovered attack. So, just questioning the move order here, just questioning if something is better than to first take the bishop and then move the knight, taking this pawn. I don't think so. Well, actually, I could take either pawn, but it's actually no. Well, if I take here, the queen gets out of the way. My knight is attacked, and it has to move, and then I would drop e4. So I want to be able to take another piece, and then secure my e4 pawn. I have to be a little bit concerned about the dark squares, though. If I take on e5, sure, I'm winning a pawn. And then I take this knight, they recapture. This pawn is hit. There is some concern I have for knight d7, bishop to f6, and black's minor pieces pivoting on this newly opened square on e5. Although, I could maybe do something else. Taking on this square and then playing knight c6? Not quite sure. Big question right now is which pawn to take. I'm still looking at this. It seems correct. Yeah, let's go with that. Take on e5. It's a central pawn. And maybe I could look into putting now my central majority, now that it's 2-to-1 majority in the center. Try to put that into use. And I want to get the move back. So let's just take this piece and then think about opening the position. In fact, okay, I wasn't expecting that. Taking away from the center, it does open up this F file, but the downside is that it weakens E6. I'd really like to get my bishop into E6. My first thought is F3, but I could forget about getting my bishop into E6. I still want to have this move in mind of bishop G4 for when the knight moves, and I'm expecting it to move soon. Let's start with queen C2 to defend this square, staying off of D3 because it runs into tempos with knight E5. And on a knight move, bishop G4 into here. I don't know how annoying it is. I think black can work around it on the dark squares, but okay. I think that's a good move. Let's start first with F3. I guess I have to give up this idea of playing bishop to G4. On a knight move, oh, I missed that move, but actually they missed a pin. That's I should have considered that. The bishop's weakened. He's unprotected, but this is now running into this pin. I didn't see that. My opponent didn't see it either, but this is game over now. That's pinned. He's hit twice. He can't be defended. We'll probably resign here. This whole farm is falling. This is a full piece. Maybe even then some. Rook in the corner. Yeah. I'll be curious to see what the computer has to say after this, but let's see what black does next. Plenty of time here. 6 minutes. Still the 2-second increment. Let's see. There's not much black could do. Maybe rook here or king here. In situations like this, well, it's completely losing for black, but, you know, in more closely fought positions like this, I'd be going with the king move instead of a rook move. He's going to have to play to h8 once he's in check, so make the move with the piece that has the least amount of flexibility first. It's the king. So king h8, bishop takes knight. Again, it's completely winning for white, but at least there's some flexibility with the rook. He could do some, he has more options than the king would. So, let's see what black does. They've been at it for maybe about a minute now. Let's see. Try to do some more standard games. This is actually my very first rated game on Lee Chess with the standard time control. Are they gonna let their time tick, I wonder? Okay. No, they're not letting their time tick. What I was just thinking about there is that if they we're going to let their time tick. I do some editing and save you the time from watching just the black clock tick away, so no reason not to just take the knight, right? I don't have to, actually. He's not going anywhere. So let's get another piece involved. I don't need to go in for the b4 move. Let's just pile up on that pinned knight. It may be better to recapture with the rook and then double. My bishop is fine where he's at. This is also another, again, it's a winning position for white, but, you know, still being as technical and precise as possible. You know, you could take like this, but I think it is better to be taking like this now that they're out of the pin. Let's take that knight. This is a better improvement with the rook. You take the piece and you're preparing to double. So how to defend d6. Okay, with the queen. Let's get the other piece working. And they still have back rank issues. So let's see. I could take on this square maybe in some cases. Getting back here. There is this break as well. If they try a flight square, g6 would be hit. So now this is a pin. I have the e5 move now. Let's follow through with that. And open up the position. Welcome more exchanges, more possibilities for the pieces that I have out and about, the extra piece as well. So rook takes pawn, pawn takes, or even more, adding more fuel to this pawn. I don't know that I would want to do this, even though it's a pass pawn. I'd much rather have pieces or pawns exchanged. Okay, don't want to drop this bishop. So I could take on this c5 square for one. Or I could play bishop to f6, just getting out of the line of fire, getting off of the e-file. Bishop f4 is my first thought. Let's go with it. Pawn takes, hits my bishop, but I take here, and then I'm also on the bishop on d8. So this pawn is hit a ton of times now. It'll be collapsing soon. Tough to recommend anything for black. I mean, if all things were equal, if material was equal, you'd think about flight squares and stuff like that. The bishop's opposite my king, but I don't see a way to allow this pawn to move. You know, another thing, there's 3 pieces on this diagonal, so a4 and bishop here win some more material. Could probably go in for that. In the end, I'd be up a full rook. Or, well, I was thinking here, queen d3 and bishop to b5, but that runs into c4 stuff. Let's keep it really, really simple. I'm gonna go in for the more direct stuff. Rook takes pawn, most forceful. a4 is certainly setting up a threat, but I could look to be much more direct. Give direction to my opponent, limit my opponent's responses. And now probably push e6. Yeah, let's go with e6. This is a fantastic piece here. It's the extra piece, securing that pawn. We got now rook d7, queen c3 stuff, and also bishop here. Bishop c7, there's rook d7. That'll be more material. So this is going to be my idea, my 2-move idea. Get to the 7th, improve my pieces once more. Queen c3, moving forward more. and then taking advantage of this pin against the pawn. I don't think it could be defended. Didn't see that move. But it should be okay. Queen c3, and on bishop here, I still have this move. So let's first start with queen c3. Let's not get into time pressure either. Queen c3, bishop c7, rook d7. I'm threatening mate on g7 now and hitting the bishop on c7. We'll probably resign here. I'm thinking this is too much. Rook g8, crawling up into a ball, or maybe just allowing the mate on g7. Okay, they resigned. So let me not even step away here. Let me go into... actually, I have to step away for a second and just get a computer analysis. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, I just had to hit that button. And you could see it here. It just takes a moment. It's analyzing the game. And there we go. This gives you an idea of and if there were any shifts in the game and such. I think you should be able to see that there. Yeah. We'll have a closer look, maybe at around, is when that e5 move was played. Notice that was I was pointing out some time was lost, e6, and then a couple moves later, e5. It was a closed position, but nothing was really given up throughout. Let's see what it has to say here. Just going through on the right-hand side, we'll see where there were some inaccuracies. It also logs right here, 1 inaccuracy, mistake, 0 blunders on my end, and for my opponent, the same stats, or the same details. So let's get to, let's say, move 14. Yeah, so when b5 was played, that was just the miscalculation there. But you know what? Another thing, I was pointing out that I think this move was a mistake. I wonder if after this move, a4 would have been a move. Because on knight takes here, there's knight takes e4, and this is a favorable exchange of pawns for sure. Black gives up a rook pawn, but white gives up a central pawn. Yeah, I think I should have done something different here. I should have been a bit more concerned about this a4 move. Maybe I should have played b3 here. I think this is a way that I could have improved. b3, and then there isn't this idea anymore. And then bishop to e3. This is I was ready to say a small detail, but I think it's a very big detail because I don't have the queenside play. I don't get that b4 advance in. I no longer have that queenside plan. That's not good. a4 I think is a good move here. But I played bishop e3, then b3, and I guess this is already where black could think about doing something else, but it's difficult to suggest because this f5, I'm prepared to meet those moves. Like if the knight plays here, I was going to think about this, and let's say f5 is played immediately. Takes. And after rook takes, I just have this enormous square on e4. And if challenged, I could even consider this. And we're maybe one day playing a good versus bad bishop type position. So white's still going to maintain something here. Black never quite got an active plan on board, so it was tough. I mean, I got the Well, what would I have done if let's say what would I have done if b5 wasn't played? Let's say the black doesn't go in for this idea because it's blundering a pawn, and so let's say b6 is played here. What would I do? I think I would still follow through with this idea, or maybe first this, making what one might call a non-committal move first, not yet weakening my kingside, playing rook b1, being in a position to play rook to b4. And this might be the direction to go in. I don't know that I need to play on the kingside or weaken my kingside with g3 and f4. I'd much rather play in the queen's. I don't need to play in the king side. I think I could just play in the queen side. It's b4. Let's say h6. Pretty useful. Flight square, knight pivot. Takes. And if black is taking like this, I don't know. Maybe this is even a bit premature, to be honest. Rook here, maybe sacrifices and then taking on this square. I think black would be happy for something like that because they're pretty cramped here. White having a nice space advantage. Rook here, queen here. Not saying it's best in any way, but at least strikes an imbalance in the position. Queen here, and maybe this pawn starts to roll, and it's a bit more lively. It's an active approach for the black side. So, sensing this, I should maybe be a bit more cautious about this b4 break. Maybe I could get some more useful moves in. h3 might be one of them. No, though, I don't know for certain. Maybe rook to e1. And then this g3 and f4. Whenever g3 is played, I'm always a bit concerned about an immediate bishop h3 hitting my rook, so maybe I have the time for moving the rook to e1 first. I'm not sure what to suggest for black. It's tough to suggest something. As soon as the knight moves, I'm looking at this. Don't know that it's best, but it has that idea in mind of playing on the light squares. But let's say make a king move. g3 and then f4. I think it's important that black plays this move, otherwise they get squashed. Allowing this f5 move, well, the knight is in fact trapped at that point, but let's say king h7 here, knight in the corner, well, that's bad on its own, and now we have these ideas. Although that might be a bit tricky to get in because of these dark squares that are controlled with the queen and bishop. But generally, you shouldn't. It's okay to allow maybe in some cases, of course, a space advantage in this case, a pawn on d5, but allowing space advantage on both wings of the board, that's asking for trouble. A pawn on d5, a pawn on f5, that's tough. So in the event that I do go forward with g3 and f4, I think it's important that black captures. They are giving up their center, but maybe they can make use of these squares now. I do have an isolated pawn, so the squares in front of it can be some type of outpost for pieces. It's still very, very difficult for black. I'm just going back, and this is what I do a lot, when I'm reviewing games, let me try to express what I just thought right there before I hit that rewind button, or that back button. I thought to myself, well, if I know that black should be capturing here, just so I don't get that f5 advance in, I thought the g file is going to be opened up. After this takes, the g file is opened up. I then thought to myself, well, couldn't I have made a more useful move with my rook earlier? Like right here. Instead of rook to e1, how about this move here, king to h1? Seems mysterious for right now, but now this idea of g3, if bishop here, I'm fine with that. I'll play rook to g1, and now this idea of f4. And if you're taking, well, you're helping out my rook, and if you're not taking, the as mentioned great space advantage with d5 and f5. Now, one might also question this point here. Well, am I not able to play f5 no matter what? The difference here is that after a first capture, if I'm playing f5, there is this square that the knight could be jumping into. This is still a favorable position for me because black is not able to maintain a piece on the e5 square. I have to recapture with the pawn, and now I have a connected pass pawn, and this is still a very good pawn transformation. This is still good for white. But yeah, it didn't quite turn out like that. We didn't get to see these plans in mind, but I certainly still wanted to share them with you. Let's get back to the actual game. Bishop to e3, b3, queen there, and then b5. They're saying the best move was b6 here. This right here is the computer line. Okay, it is going in for g3. Bishop there, h6, and now... Interesting. f3. I guess to play knight to f2. That's interesting. Kick that bishop out of there. Ah, cool. May even be the idea of g4 and knight to f2, so that's pretty neat to be aware of. Huh. Knight gets out of the way, trading light square bishops. Okay. And then there's some ensuing... I see some more ways to improve here. Subtle moves. Nothing great, but small improvements. King g2, and still if this f5 advances in, I get that knight anchored on e4. Queen e2, bishop there, now f4. Yeah, this is still the computer line, and that's where it ends. But, we didn't have b6 in there. We had b5, and I don't know if well, from what the graph is saying, I didn't let it slip there. It's pawn and a half plus 1.8 and beyond. And it's just growing from here. Yeah, I should have at least considered this move. It's not working out because of the pin, but I wonder if I would have fallen for that if pawn takes here, queen here, bishop back. I think I could have very easily fallen for this tactic now, because on knight takes there isn't bishop here anymore. There is no pin. So if that did happen, let's say if the pawn recaptured like this, I would have still played queen c2. Bishop back, and now how to defend here? Bishop d3. Or actually bishop to f3, just to stop this forward move, knight g4 pivoting here. And now knight here, maybe g3, knight back, and now bishop here. And then eventually I control e5. This is important. I don't want to allow this knight to make use of that e5 square, to sit on the e5 square for any great length of time. But yeah, we didn't quite get there. We had that knight takes, and then the knight was pinned, and it was just downhill from there. Just looking for exchanges and being as forceful as possible here. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to share for this one. Feel free, as usual, to leave any comments in the comment section below to this one. And as always, I hope you got something out of it. That's all for now. Take care. Bye.